I think we can all agree that no matter how much money you have, it doesn't guarantee happiness or success in life. But what if you suddenly found yourself with a huge amount of cash? Let's say $1 million. How would you feel? Excited? Happy? Shocked? Well, apparently not. A man from New York found a bag full of cash in his basement, and it turned out to be a Mafia's dirty money. After seeing the stacks of cash, he was horrified and immediately regretted his decision. So what did this guy do after finding the bag? And what does this story teach us about the Mafia? In today's episode of People, Please Stop, we will tell you about a man who stumbled upon a bag full of cash in his basement. It turned out to be the Mafia's dirty money, and he couldn't get rid of it fast enough. You're watching this channel. Don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any new episodes. It was an ordinary day for a resident of Niagara. He was just sorting things out in his basement when he noticed a plastic bag taped up with duct tape. He opened it and saw bundles of cash inside. The man had never seen so much money in his entire life. It looked like the stacks would never end. At first, he thought it was his neighbor's money. The thing is, they didn't seem to be his neighbor's. The bills were neatly banded and secured with rubber bands. The man counted the stacks and saw there were 40 bundles, $10,000 each. In total, he found 400 grand. What a lucky coincidence. He decided to take the money home and keep it for now, thinking he would return it to its owner sooner or later. But then he changed his mind. The man called the police and told them about the find. The officers came to him, took the money, and thanked him. He probably thought they finally had a lead on some serious crime, but it turned out the trail went cold. They couldn't track down the owner of the money and eventually returned it to the man. At first, he was very happy about his good fortune, but it soon became clear that the money brought him nothing but trouble. The man received the money in an envelope, without any tracking or identification numbers. Later, he learned that if he wanted to avoid being killed, he should have destroyed the stacks of cash. That's right. The man had found the Mafia's dirty money. You don't know what that means, let me explain. Dirty money is cash that has been earned through illegal activities, so it's basically counterfeit. How do you get rid of dirty money? You have to burn it. If you throw it into a river, fish might mistake it for food and eat it. If you bury it in the ground, the soil will be contaminated. Flushing it down the toilet is also a bad idea because one day it could pollute the environment. The only way to dispose of the money is to use fire. As soon as the man realized what kind of money he was holding on to, he understood why the Mafia wanted it destroyed. This money could implicate them in various crimes. To get rid of it, the man asked for help from a friend who worked at a metal recycling plant. Together, they burned the cash. But this wasn't an easy task. The stacks of money were so thick that even a blowtorch couldn't melt them. They had to cut them into pieces. Each bundle required about 20 minutes of burning. As a result, the man lost about 40 grand due to melting documents, passport, and social security card. But he didn't really care. The Mafia considered the money to be clean, since it was no longer linked to criminal activity. But it was far from being white. So what? Why did the Mafia want the money back anyway? In the United States, all banknotes have serial numbers. These numbers allow the government to track down the origin of the funds. Banks and law enforcement agencies use them to trace the chain of transactions. For example, the FBI found some Mafia members in possession of counterfeit bills and launched a major investigation. Thanks to these numbers, the Bureau managed to uncover one of the largest counterfeiting operations in the U.S. The Mafia tries to avoid this by getting rid of the serial numbers. This is why the bills are often torn or burned. However, the Mafia doesn't always get to destroy the banknotes. Sometimes the authorities find them and confiscate them. This is exactly what happened in this case. The man had no idea the bills had any special markings and just threw them into a regular fireplace. That's where the Mafia made the connection. And when they learned the money was gone, they sent a man to retrieve it. The man found it in his fireplace, having absolutely no idea that in a few minutes he would be desperately trying to save his own life. When the goon entered the house, the man was eating dinner with his family. The visitor knocked on the door. It was the kind of knock that no homeowner would ever be happy to hear. The man was so shocked by what had happened that he simply froze. He couldn't understand how the Mafia had traced the money back to him. The man didn't answer the knock. Instead, he called the police. But when the officers arrived, they couldn't find the intruder. The man said he had seen the face of the person who was looking for the money. According to him, it was a scary man in his 50s, about 6 feet tall, wearing a black suit. But when the police searched the neighborhood, they couldn't find anyone matching that description. While the man was talking to the cops, the Mafia decided to pay him another visit. A bullet was fired through his window, missed him but shattered the glass. Then the goons left. The man again called the police, but they didn't find the shooter either. The man was given two options, either to find the money or to find a good lawyer. Although the Mafia had failed to get their money back, they still wanted to know how the man came across those bills. But he claimed he found the bag in his basement and didn't know anything else about it. Of course he was lying. The truth was that he stole the money from the Mafia boss. It happened quite by accident. One night the boss was playing cards with his friends, drinking alcohol and counting his money. At some point he got up to go to the bathroom, leaving the room and the bag full of cash unattended. That's when the man decided to take advantage of the situation. When the boss returned, he noticed that the bag was missing and immediately suspected the man. The latter swore he didn't steal anything. It's likely the boss didn't believe him, but he had no proof of his guilt. That's why he offered the man a deal. He promised to forget about the theft if the man gave him half of what he stole. But the man refused and took the entire bag full of cash and ran away. And that's where our story begins. Eventually, the man found a lawyer and handed over the remaining stacks of money. Of course, the Mafia was disappointed, but they knew it was better to lose $400,000 than have their secret exposed. There's no information about what happened to the man after that. Some sources claim he moved to another state and completely changed his identity. Others say he disappeared altogether. Maybe the Mafia got to him, though. I guess we'll never know for sure. So what does this story teach us? Mafia members are highly intelligent and organized people. They try to cover their tracks by removing serial numbers from banknotes. They're willing to do whatever it takes to protect their secrets. They don't hesitate to kill people. If necessary, the police sometimes succeed in tracking down the Mafia's dirty money, but it's extremely rare. Usually they get away with it. Mafia groups aren't just dangerous to other people, but to themselves as well. Have you heard any stories involving the Mafia? Share your stories in the comments. And that's all for today. See you soon.